Perfect. So now we're recording and I can officially get started. So welcome to another workshop with SUP 46. And the purpose of the workshop series is to give you as a startup entrepreneur really quick advice on how to improve your startup or anything related to your startup journey. So as always, 45-minute plus 15-minute Q&A. We might shrink it down now to 40 minutes, given the time delay. And please keep your mics on mute and don't turn on your webcam if possible, so it becomes more fun for us. The recordings will be added to the platform, so you can go in and look for this session on demand. And also special welcome to our Scania friends. And thanks, Bianca, for coordinating. So keep an eye also on the waiting room to let people in. And it's my pleasure to welcome today's expert, Dr. Gunnar Ekman. He has a PhD in leadership and organization from Stockholm School of Economics and has been working in a Stockholm Leadership Institute. Gunnar has been running the Stockholm School of Economics Executive MBA and been helping a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs over the years. And not only in Sweden, but also on an international level, and being consultant in a big number of projects. So I'm very, very happy and thankful, Gunnar, that you take your time to join us here today and share some valuable learnings. And I will be your assistant with your slides and jump in as a moderator from time to time if there's any clarifications or questions. And don't be shy to jump in if you have any questions or thoughts. Be happy to clarify or discuss. Gunnar, I'm going to leave the floor to you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, as Sebastian said, my name is Gunnar Ekman. I'm PhD from the Stockholm School of Economics. I took my PhD some 20 years ago, actually 22 years ago. And the focus during my research was on leadership and business, I guess you could say. And since I took my PhD, I've been working with many, many different companies and also in different countries. For instance, I've been working with Chalmers Ventures around startups. I've been working with Ericsson. I've been working with large banks, Bank of China. And I've also been associate professor at some schools in the States, Wharton and Harvard Business School, for instance. But I started my career as a police officer. When I was 20, I attended police academy. And mainly because my father was a policeman. So it kind of felt pretty good to go the same way as my father. So I attended police academy and I worked as a police for some years. But after 2 or 3 years, I think it was around 24 or 25 or something, I came into a situation where I got a gun pointed at my head like that. It only took maybe 5, at the most 10 seconds. And I really decided to change my life and also my career. So that is the point where I decided to focus on leadership, on organizations, and on people in a very broad sense. And also, to be honest, I think that was pretty important for me for many, many reasons. Back then, I was, doing bodybuilding, and I was really cool, big and strong. And it was so important for me to kind of get down to earth and realize how valuable life is and also how fragile it is. So in many ways, that actually changed my life and my career, and is the reason for why I mainly studied and took my PhD. So I worked as a policeman, and I also worked for like 2 years as a leader for about 25, 30 police officers. Something very important or interesting happened to me, because being a police officer in that kind of culture is like being in a family. You know, you had a couple of friends at work, you really worked together, and you had a lot of good time during your free time. And if you needed help, you know, their friends at work could actually help you. But when I came to the Stockholm School of Economics, I really experienced a total different kind of culture. In that word, it's more about competition. It's more about, you know, doing good results in competition with others. And you kind of not picked on each other, but total different culture. So I've been thinking a lot about culture ever since. And something that I know, and all the research is behind, is that if you create a culture with a lot of energy where people would like to be, the result would come. There is so many research, I mean, both in Sweden and in other countries, that really shows the importance of energy at work. I would like to give you one example on that. And I don't know, but maybe you're interested in soccer or in football. 2016, there was this Iceland, a very, very small island outside the UK. They came into the semifinals in the European Championship 2016. And actually, that was not possible because their team was not bad, but the whole team was worth as much as 10% of the one player in the English or the Great Britain team. So they didn't have that many good players, but they had a lot of energy. Everybody gave 100%. Everybody tried to make their colleague the best one, and they also followed the plan. I was there watching the game when they beat England 2-0. It was so important because you could really feel the energy that the Iceland team had. If someone in the English team made a mistake, his friends in the team did like this, you know, why? But if someone on the Iceland's team did a mistake, you know, his colleagues or friends in the game, they did like this. So how people behave towards each other is one of the keys of creating this energy. Like half a year ago, I read a big study in Harvard review, and that was about positive feedback. And, you know, many companies has been working with constructive feedback for so many years in a way that is looking for things that do not work. What this research said, that if you're looking at things that actually work, that will grow. And, you know, if you go to the gym a lot, you will be stronger. If you run a lot, you will be faster. If you eat a lot, you will kind of gain a lot of weight. Exactly the same thing is about focus at work. If you focus on colleagues and things that actually work, that will grow. And that will also grow a lot of energy.
Gunnar, could you...
Yes.
We're still on the starting slide. Sorry for being a bad slide.
Okay, we can turn to the next
show.
one.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Energy or...
Yes, it's all about energy. Energy is about focusing on energy, and it's about creating energy, and also the research around leadership. The only thing that we know through research on leadership is that a leader who can create energy will actually be effective. We also know that those companies with a lot of positive energy will actually earn more money. That is a fact that is based on research. I'm going to talk a little bit about something very practical about energy in the relation between people. Now we can turn to the next slide. Something I think is very, very useful that I've been used all over my career, and that is something you can use in your private life and of course, mostly at work. And that is understanding differences between people. And also understand, how people see you and your personality and your behavior. You can, for instance, think of a meeting at the work, a formal meeting. To that meeting, there might come one person who has what I would say relationship glasses on. That person will come into the meeting, kind of feel the atmosphere in the room, maybe looking at Gunnar, say something like, wow, this seems to be something with Gunnar. Let's check out what that is. Feelings and human being is that person's way to perceive the world. To the same meeting, there might be another kind of a person coming into the meeting. That person might be much more focusing on efficiency. He or she can come into the meeting and say, could we shorten the meeting a little bit? Could we focus on actions to do? Could we be effective here? I have so many things to do. It is, I think, very, very easy to see the conflict that could grow between these two people. But if they have an understanding of each other and if they have a respect for each other, 1 + 1 can be much more than 2. But without understanding, without respect, they will eat each other's energy. To the same room, there might be a person coming into the room that has preparing his or herself for the meeting, been going through facts and figures, and comes to the meeting prepared to talk about what the meeting is supposed to be about. Facts and logics is that person's way to perceive the world, I guess you could say. And to the same meeting, there can be a total different kind of a person, who has a lot of creativity and a lot of energy that actually didn't see the agenda for the meeting, comes into the meeting thinking of something in the elevator and say, wow, let's talk about this. It's also very easy, I think, to see the conflict that could grow between these two different personalities. Someone with facts and logics as their glasses, and another one thinking about creativity in a fast pace on the other hand side. There are 4, I would say, pretty good examples of these 4 different personalities. Barack Obama and also Michelle Obama are very much with the relationship glasses on, I guess you could say. And you can hear that when they give speeches. They talk a lot about human beings, they talk about their kids, they talk about people, they talk about feelings. And one example of those with the efficiency glasses on, I say, would be Steve Jobs. He doesn't talk about feelings, or he didn't talk about feelings, human beings, and so on. Much more about products, efficiency, the list of products focus to being efficient, I guess you could say. And also, I've heard a lot about Bill Gates, read a lot about him. He's very much into facts and logics. Well, people that have the same personality as Bill Gates, they think before they talk. They need to understand, they need to take some time before they talk. And the last example, I would say, is Petter Stordalen. I hope most of you knows who that is. That is probably the most successful hotel owner in the Nordic country, maybe in the western of Europe, I would say. He is very much of an actor. He has red trousers and pink shirts, and he talks a lot. And that kind of personality, they talk before they think. So the differences between facts and logics-based persons and creativity-based persons is that those with a creativity in focus, they talk and think at the same time. And the other ones are more into thinking before they talk. Of course, people are much more complex than being just 1 out of 4 different personalities, of course. I mean, human beings are so complex that it wouldn't be possible to kind of put us in different squares, even though there were 200,000 different squares to put us in. But this is only focusing on 2 different things. The first one is the speed or the drive that we have in our body. I would say that Barack Obama and those with the relationship glasses, they have a little bit lower speed or drive in their body. And there are actually 2 reasons for that. Barack Obama style or the relationship glasses, they have a little bit lower pace or speed because they are building and creating relationships. They are listening to people, they are feeling, and they are talking to people. And that is a need for a little bit or lower speed or pace in that. And those focusing on facts, logics, and figures, they also have a little bit lower speed or pace in their body. And the reason for that is, of course, they need to think, they need to, find facts, they need to kind of fulfill the puzzle and so on. So the need for a little bit lower speed or drive is very, very important for them. And then we have those with a little bit higher speed in their body. Steve Jobs, for instance, or other persons in that category. They have a lot of speed because they're efficient, they are action points, things that happens. And also this Petter Stordal and creativity kind of persons has also a higher speed in their body, focusing on energy, new ideas, talk and think at the same time. So speed is a big difference between people. The other scale, I guess you could say, or the other aspect of this very categorization is a little bit on focus. Because if you listen to persons with facts and logics as their glasses, they talk about things they do, they talk about products, they talk about the outcome of their company. And people with more focus on human beings, they talk about relationships, they talk about people, they talk about, creating together or creating energy together. So there is also a difference in focus, I would say. In the lower end of the scale with facts and logics, the focus is very much on the outcome of what the company actually do, the products. And that goes for the facts and logics and also for the efficiency glasses. And a little bit up with those focusing on relationship and creativity. The focus is a little bit more on human beings in a little bit different ways. Creating relations and deep relationships containing feelings for the Obama type, and more about creating energy, creativity together in the Petter Stordalen type. Here we have pretty good examples, of course, but we could also say that Donald Trump, for instance, is up in the right corner, the creativity. And you can see that because a pretty high speed in his body, focusing in a way on people creating energy in his own way, I guess you could say. And another person with facts and logics in their glasses would probably be Hillary Clinton. I don't know if you remember, but she lost against Donald Trump some 8 years ago. She had so much facts and logics. Whatever the reporter asked her, she also always asked with the politics, facts, logics, and figures. So these are the main differences between people. And this is so much about being effective. All the study that I have read, and that is very consistent all over the world, it is about having a company with only one kind of these different personalities is not that effective. It is very easy, because if I have my relationship glasses on, meeting another person with the same kind of glasses on, it kind of goes easy because we understand each other. We have the same speed in our body. We have the same focus. So that is in a way easy, and it doesn't take that much energy, of course. But you know, real creativity, new ideas, efficiency in companies is depending on the differences between people. We really need those that are like Petter Stordalen, fast-paced, talking, thinking at the same time, being creative. We need those focusing on facts and figures, preparing themselves for meeting and to talk about what it's supposed to be. We need those with a focus on human beings. And we also need those with the speed and drive on efficiency and creating goals and to-do lists. So if a company could be filled with understanding for each other, understanding of different personalities, and if that could be combined with a respect of others, 1 + 1 can be so much more than 2. It's only in the world of the mathematicians that 1 + 1 can be 2. When it comes to human beings, 1 + 1 can be 100. Once again, with the respect and understanding of each other. There has been doing some interesting experiments where they have tried to put many people of the same kind in this matrix doing different tasks. And what they find, once again, it's very easy, but the result, the outcome is not that good. Once again, and I will say it again, we need the differences between people. You know, it is what I've seen all over my career is that we human beings, we like each other that are alike us. Once again, because it's so much easier and it goes very smooth, we understand each other, but we need differences. Otherwise, it will not be that good. It will not be that efficient. It will not be that creative. And we will, in the long run, not make as much money as we actually could. This is, I also would like to say, about energy. Because if you think, for instance, if you have a person like Steve Jobs, only focusing on efficiency, results, to-do lists, that will eat the energy of the rest personalities in the team. Like Obama, or the one focusing on relationship, he or she will feel a little bit misunderstood. He or she will feel that the Steve Jobs kind of a person is unsensitive and so on. And all the rest have to adjust themselves to the Steve Jobs type with efficiency focus. The rest of them have to raise their speed or their drive and also focusing on the same thing as Steve Jobs.
So what does, sorry to jump in here, Gunnar.
No problem.
Just to circle back to this main sort of axle where we have focus versus speed.
Yep.
Are those the only axes worth looking at, or like how do you view like leadership and management?
Yeah, of course, you could have so many more dimensions. But, you know, if you have more dimensions on people's differences, you cannot use it in your everyday life. So this matrix is a very easy way to give a hint on some differences between people. Once again, there are more differences. I mean, there are experiences. We are men, we are women, we are from different cultures and so on. So there are many, many, many more differences between people. But this is a very simple tool that you can actually use that will make you much more effective in your everyday working life.
Got it.
So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, if you are as you are and never change yourself, that will save your own energy, but that will take energy from the people around you because they have to adjust. So if Petter Stordalen, or this creativity person, if he or she always, you know, talk at the same time as they think, they skip to read the agenda for meetings, and they come in creative with new ideas, all the rest has to adjust. That is, cost all the rest a lot of energy. But the Petter Stordalen would probably save his own energy. So this is a matrix that could make you and your team more effective. This is a matrix that if you use it, it could create more energy at work. And once again, energy is the one factor that is so important when it comes to results in companies in the long run. So also, and I guess that goes without saying, of course, human beings can do everything. This is only about where you have your home field, or I would say so. For instance, me, myself, I have a lot of that creativity within me. I'm more a lot like Petter Stordalen type. I talk and think at the same time with a pretty high pace. But I took my PhD, and that is a work that I needed to be much more like Bill Gates. I needed to read books, I needed to write, I needed to do research. So we human beings, we can do all of these 4 different personalities. We can do that in our daily life, but it costs us a little bit more energy. For instance, if I, as a creativity person, if I have a work week where I have to write something, for instance, be by myself and write and read, then I will come to Friday night being kind of tired because I've not been in my home field. I've been in another field, so to say. But if I have a week where I have a lot of people around me, when I can give lectures, doing workshops and so on, I will probably come into the weekend with a lot of energy because that is my home base or home field, I guess you could say. What you realize, of course, and I do, is that, I mean, we have some of all these qualities within ourselves, of course. But my point is that one of these 4 is kind of the home base for all of us. We have a little bit more of the relationship glasses in us, or we have a little bit more of the efficiency, or the facts, or the creativity side. So then I would like for you, we can change slide. I hope it hasn't gone too fast, but
makes sense.
Is it okay? I think?
Yeah, I think it's a good pace. I'm just
hope so.
Thinking about like when you're asking the question like where do you fit in?
Yep.
Could you elaborate a little bit? What do you like? Do you want us to? Because now, for technical reasons, we can't do breakout rooms. There's something not working with the Zoom client.
Then we'll have a big breakout room.
Yeah.
Then I would like to open up for a discussion, actually. And the thing is, I would like for you to have been in small groups, thinking a little bit on where is your home field? And where are those people that you kind of have a little bit tougher with when you work with them? And where are your colleagues? So I would like for you to have a little bit reflection around that. Where are you? And how can you see this model in your everyday working life? And maybe where do you think those persons are that are kind of toughest for you to work with? And before we open up, I would like to say just a few words about this with the toughest one. I know so many people that are with the efficiency glasses, that are Steve Jobs, and you meet them all the time in the startups or in the ordinary companies, and they are so much focusing on goals, efficiency, and so on. And sometimes it is pretty tough for them to meet people that have more of these relationship glasses on, because they think that those people are not effective and it only takes a lot of time and they are so sensitive, or could they just keep on working without being so sensitive? So for those people, it's very often kind of tough to meet these with the relationship glasses. And the same kind, I mean, if someone like Bill Gates, facts and logics, meets someone that has these creativity glasses, that is also kind of tough, because this Bill Gates tough kind of people very often think that, oh, couldn't they have kind of checked their idea first? If they had done that, they would have seen that it was not possible. Why do they take my time with this stupid idea? And so on. So there's very often one of these four that are kind of toughest for you. I would also like to say there's a book written in Sweden some years ago that is called Surrounded by Idiots. Surrounded by Idiots. And that is a great title on the book, of course. But the point is, it is that sometimes we human beings, we see other people as idiots because they don't understand that we need a higher pace. They don't understand we need action points. The thing is, they're not stupid. They are just a little bit different. They are just a little bit different. And you need them. That is extremely important. You need them. Because if the world would have been full of efficiency people, it would have been efficient in the wrong direction, because nobody says stop and think a little bit about what we're actually doing. So it would have been full pace in the wrong direction. If there had only been relationship people in a room, it would have been nice. We would have been eating, things to the coffee. We would have been nice and hugging each other and so on. And if there only had been people with facts and logics, with that focus, it would have been right decisions, but nothing would ever have happened, because they have opened in talking, discussing, all, through the, how long time so. And if we all only had a lot of creativity people in the room, there would have been a great ideas, 2-3 ideas, a lot of energy, but nothing would happen. We need each other. Yeah. That is important. I would like for you just to, jump in. Where do you think you are? And ideas, questions, thoughts around this simple model. Let's do that if we cannot have the breakout rooms.
For sure. Sorry about the technical issues there. And feel free to raise your hand or just unmute and reach out to jump in. We have, since we're running a little bit behind schedule, maybe we can have 1 or 2 perspectives on this personality trait, and then you have some more things that you want to share as well before the Q&A. But Jonas, please.
Yeah, I can start.
Go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jonas.
Hi, I'm Jonas. I'm an old guy, so I've been around, seen this before.
You're not older than me.
You're not older than you feel. So today I think I'm older.
Okay.
Kidding. Personally, I have a really hard problem fitting myself into one of these groups. I am fully aware that I'm not in the relationship corner at work. But when it comes to the other 3, for me, it's more of a mood. And I think I I kind of take the role that is missing, more or less, and looking at who and trying to use your method of saying whom I don't like to work with, and I really don't like to work with people who doesn't do what they said they were going to do, and that might fit in, give a hint of where I am, but personally I draw quite a blank here.
Yeah, I would say that I think in a way that you probably fit in one of these four, but once again with a mix, of course. And when you say that you can be in all different squares, you're talking a little bit about what I would call adaptability. Your ability to adapt to what the situation or different people actually need. Adaptability is, for instance, that you are in a situation where you need to find new ideas and you only have 1 hour. Adaptability is is how well people from the different squares kind of can jump in to the creativity part, so to say. So adaptability is how well someone, little bit like
a chameleon.
Like a comedian.
Not a comedian, a chameleon. Chameleont.
Chameleon. Yes. What is that in English? Is it
chameleon?
Chameleon. Adaptability is how well you can adapt yourself to different situations or different people. So what I hear, Jonas, I can be wrong, of course, is that you have a pretty good adaptability and a pretty good sense of what people need and what situations need. How would you answer to that?
That's high praise. I say thank you.
You're welcome. That would cost you 500 Swedish crowns. Just kidding. Okay, someone else. Or Jonas, one more. It's up to you.
I'm good.
Great.
I want to, if no one else raises their hands, I just want to like ask, how do, if I'm not sure where I fit in, it's probably because like Jonas mentioned, like this is an abstraction of reality, meaning that it's not like you, unless you're like an extreme type of personality, like the different leadership styles that we present, the different personas we present. I think it's, as you mentioned, you have different parts. But I would argue that even if you would ask Steve Jobs today, he would have a different opinion on where he would fit in here.
Exactly. And I think that is the point. And if you think of it this way, the only person, I would say, that hasn't seen you in your surrounding, that is yourself. You have seen yourself in a mirror. Everybody else see you for real, so to say. So what you could do is ask people around you. Ask them, how do you see me? Do you see me that I come to a meeting in a bit of force, focusing on things to do list? Or do you see that I'm much more focused into relations? Or do you think that I'm a much more fact and logic person, or a creativity person? Maybe they cannot give you a 100% answer, but the important thing is that you start a dialogue or a conversation with people around you. That will help them to understand you more, and that will help you to understand them more. And leadership is about understanding people. It is about creating respect and understanding for each other. So that is, I think, an important dialogue to have.
Yep.
Also, Sebastian, when you say that, it shows me, and that is also my experience, that many of us do not have a clue of how other people see us. That is why the conversation or the dialogue with the people around us is so important. At least if you would like your company to be really efficient and make a lot of money. It's about people, it's about creating energy. I see time is flying.
Yeah. Let's. You mentioned you dropped a book recommendation in the middle of a sentence. Maybe we should move on to the next part about like what you think about reflection before we wrap up.
Yeah. I saw an interview for maybe a year or so with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and
Was it Bill Gates?
Bill Gates, yes, thank you. And it was so interesting because the reporter, the journalist, asked these guys, what is the most important thing for your success? And I think that the journalists were looking for answers like, it is my network, or it's so important that I had a mentor, or this coach was really, really important for me. But the answer they gave, I think, is actually very, very good and interesting. They all said, through reading books. I have heard somewhere that Bill Gates reads almost 2 books every week. I don't know if that's true, of course, but he reads a lot of books, Elon Musk as well. And in my way, that shows us 2 things. First, of course, how important it is to read books, because books are written by other people and their experiences. You can never, ever get the content of a book through a mail or an SMS or a conversation with another human being. There is something with a book. You take your time, you read it, you think about it. There's so much learning from reading books that these guys actually told us about. And also, during my career, I have realized that people in companies and also in public sector and startups and so on, they kind of run through their working life. What I mean by that is that I've seen so many people that come to work at 8 o'clock and have a lot of meetings, go through emails, talk to customers, and, in a high pace, kind of run through their everyday working life. Start at 8, quit working at 6, coming home, fixing food for their kids, taking care of some emails, and then go to bed. And the next day is going to be exactly the same. And when they come home on a Friday night, they're extremely tired, of course. And they take Saturday and Sunday, maybe do some mails. And the next week is about the same. The problem with that is that they get a little bit of a tunnel seeing. I guess that's bad translation from Swedish. But, their reality is a little bit like that. What I see is they very often use the same solutions, no matter what kind of problems that comes up. At least they are not doing new creative things because they are driven by habits, doing about the same thing every day. That is a problem, and I've seen it so many times. What I think managers and people that would like to be efficient actually need is some time for a reflection. Reflection, in my word, the way I see it, is in a lower pace. It's away from the office. It can be at the local coffee bar where you actually sit down and think a little bit on how things goes at work, what is good, what doesn't work, what you actually do, and what you can do in a different way. I think you need these breaks or reflections. I don't know how much, of course, but if you at least have 1 hour every week that you go out by yourself, go for a walk, for instance, because there's so much happening in our brain when we go for a walk. I think that is the key to seeing problems that is coming ahead of us. I've known so many managers that has been using reflection as an important tool. And many, many times they have told me that thanks to that reflection time, they have seen things that they wouldn't have seen in their everyday high pace running working life.
The tunnel vision mode.
Pardon?
The tunnel vision mode.
The tunnel vision mode, exactly. That's a better translation. The tunnel vision mode, where you don't see new solutions. You're not that creative. Once again, driven by habits, doing about the same thing. What I would like for you to do, actually, after this workshop today, first, of course, I would like for you to think a little bit about the metrics, differences between you and your colleagues, thinking a little bit on how you can adapt yourself to others so you create more energy, and how you actually start to talk about others on different personality behaviors, because that is important in order to create energy. I would also like for you to take some time to do some reflection. It can be in the same way as Bezos, Musk do, that is reading books, because reading books demands a lower pace. It demands for you to take some time, and you need to think and read and think. So that is one way of reflection, of course. And if you don't like reading books, I think you should go out there, turn off your telephone, and drink a cup of coffee by yourself and think a little bit. Once again, how are things going at work? How am I doing? Are there things that I do not see that I need to see? How are my coworkers doing? All of those things that you don't have time in your everyday working life for. I've seen many times how this actually has changed businesses, I would have said. It had also been a creative method for starting new products and new ideas. And now I know, Sebastian, that you have an example from your world that you will help me to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So on the topic, me and Gunnar, when preparing for this session, we were talking about reflection and reading and learning and understanding means. And I got a little bit of homework from Gunnar to think about one example that I think resonates with a lot of founders in our industry. And I wanted to take a really good example that sort of proved that taking time to look at what you're doing from a broader perspective
Next slide
will really help. So
that is.
Some of you, I think most of you know what Slack is. It's the most popular internal communications tool. I think Scanians are using Teams internally. I'm not sure, but either way, the most popular internal communications tools are Slack, and Salesforce acquired it for $28 billion in 2020. So it's like an amazing success story. But not a lot of people know the origin story of Slack. It actually started out back in 2010-ish as a internal Slack bot, a little modification of an IRC solution for a gaming studio. So they were spending a lot of time figuring out how to communicate internally. So they decided to build their own tool because they wanted to build the right games and they wanted to communicate in a proper way. Turned out that the gaming studio did not produce good enough games. However, them reflecting on their position and their journey, turned out that their communication tool internally was extremely valuable and functional, and they noticed that none of this exists outside of our company. And therefore, they started instead pivoting and commercializing their own solution, which then 8 years later become the most popular internal communications tool for companies globally. So at least in the Western hemisphere. So I think this is a really good example of reflection and how you can learn and then improve. So don't necessarily, if you have a business idea and you're following okay, this is our vision, this is what we're gonna do. As you learn more things down the road, don't hesitate to to pivot or understand maybe we should do this and that instead. But that requires reflection, right?
Yes, and then I would just to say thank you and say 3 summarizing sentences, if that is okay. I think we're running out of time. And we only had 1 hour, but I really tried to emphasize and focus on energy, because energy is, looking at the research, it is about energy. Creating energy is creating results. I also wanted you to see that people around you that behave differently are not idiots. They are just different. And if you understand that, and if you use that, you will be much more efficient within your company, and also in your private life, in relations and so on. And also, taking the time off to reflect is not waste of time. It is highly efficient time, and that is important, at least if you want to build a result in different ways. So energy, people are not idiots, and take time to reflect. By that, I would like to... Thank you.
Gunnar, sorry to interrupt. Just before we wrap up, Bianca, could you push the survey? Because we really appreciate all the feedback we can get from you who tuned in, so we know how to improve the session going forward. So please, as we ask the last question before we wrap everything up, take your time to answer the survey. That would be really helpful for us going forward. Gunnar, thank you so much. I sort of interrupted you, but I really want to stick in a last sort of question that I think others except me are sort of thinking about as a next step. You mentioned some good things and some recommendations. If you can have just mention a final word on how can I go about reaching out to my team to understand everyone better. I want to do this exercise myself.
Yep.
But is there any best practices around engaging your team in this so everyone knows each other better?
It is, actually. And I think one of the most important questions that a leader could actually use is, what do you need from me? What do you need? So if you take dialogues with your colleagues one by one and really ask them, like, Sebastian, what do you need from me in order for this to be a great relationship? Then you might say that I would like for you to prepare more for the meetings, or I would like for you to focus more on me as a person, or I would like for you to be more effective. So if you really ask that question and thinking about the answer you will get, and also give the opportunity for the other person to ask you the question, what do I need from you? Given that dialogue, you will understand a lot of what that person is like and what he or she needs, and also the other way around. So the important question here is, what do you need from me in order for this to be the best relation it can ever be? So that is my final word, I would say.
Awesome. Perfect. So I'll stop the screen share here. And with those words, Gunnar, thank you so much for joining in. It's been a pleasure. I'm a big fan, and I really hope this resonates with those of you who tuned in. Bianca, thanks so much for coordinating, and apologies again for the technical challenges. We'll be working a little bit on our Zoom skills down the road. Stay tuned for more invites for other workshops, and everyone have a great afternoon, and happy hacking.
Happy hacking. Good luck.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.